It was a chilly December evening in Manhattan, the streets alive with the glow of holiday lights and the hum of carolers serenading shoppers bustling past. Donald Trump, dressed in a tailored black overcoat, his signature red scarf draped neatly around his neck, exited the annual charity gala at the Plaza Hotel. The night had been festive, filled with high society's finest, but as he stepped into the crisp winter air, a distant commotion across the street caught his attention. He paused, his car waiting only a few steps away. Across the street, a small crowd had gathered around a visibly distressed woman. She clutched a crumpled piece of paper in her trembling hands, pacing frantically, her voice trembling with panic. "Sir, the car is ready," his driver said, holding the door open. But Trump raised a hand, his attention fixed on the scene. "Hold on," he said, his instincts urging him forward. Crossing the street, Trump approached the woman, her sobs audible now. "Please, has anyone seen a boy? He's 6 years old, wearing a green jacket. His name is Billy," she cried, her voice cracking. The crowd murmured but offered no answers. Trump stepped closer, his commanding presence quieting the group. "Ma'am," he said firmly, his voice cutting through the noise. "What's going on?" The woman turned to him, startled, her tear-streaked face reflecting her anguish. "My son," she stammered. "He's missing. He wandered off while I was on the phone and I can't find him. Please, he's just a little boy." Trump's expression hardened as he processed her words. "What's your name?" he asked. "Sarah," she said, barely managing to speak. "Sarah," Trump said, his tone both calm and resolute. "Listen to me. We're going to find him." Without hesitation, he pulled out his phone, dialing his head of security. "Mike," he said, his voice brisk. "We have a missing child near Central Park South. 6 years old, green jacket, name's Billy. Get every available resource on this now." As he ended the call, Trump noticed Sarah swaying slightly on her feet, overcome with fear and exhaustion. "You need to stay strong for Billy," he said gently, guiding her to sit on a nearby bench. "What was he doing when you last saw him?" Sarah clutched the bench, trying to focus. "He was holding my hand. We were walking toward the park. I stopped to take a phone call. It was just for a minute. When I turned back, he was gone. I thought maybe he followed the Christmas lights or—" Her voice broke as she covered her face, unable to continue. Trump nodded, his mind working quickly. "Sarah," he said, his voice steady. "Children are drawn to bright, busy places. He might have followed the lights or something that caught his eye. I'll search the park myself." A group of passers-by, inspired by Trump's determination, began spreading out to help with the search. "Thank you," Sarah whispered, her hope flickering back to life as she watched strangers rallying together. Trump, meanwhile, moved swiftly toward Central Park. The air grew colder as he ventured down the shadowy paths, scanning every corner and calling out, "Billy!" His deep voice echoed through the park, carrying a mix of urgency and determination. As he walked, he noticed small details: a child's mitten left near a bench, footprints in the thin layer of snow. He stopped, bending down to examine them closely. "Could be his," Trump murmured to himself, rising to continue following the trail. Near a frozen pond, he paused, straining to listen. That's when he heard it. A faint whimper, barely audible over the distant hum of the city. Turning toward the sound, he spotted a small figure huddled on a bench, shivering in the cold. Trump approached cautiously, his heart pounding. "Billy?" he called softly, not wanting to startle the child. The boy looked up, his tear-streaked face illuminated by the faint glow of a nearby street lamp. His cheeks were red from the cold, and his small hands clutched his knees tightly. "Are you Billy?" Trump asked, kneeling down to the boy's level. The child nodded, his voice barely audible as he said, "I got lost." Trump smiled gently, extending his hand. "It's okay, buddy. Your mom's been looking everywhere for you. Let's get you back to her." After a moment's hesitation, Billy reached out, his small hand fitting snugly into Trump's firm grip. The walk back to Sarah felt like a journey of hope and redemption. Trump spoke to Billy softly, asking about his favorite toys and what he wanted for Christmas. The boy began to relax, his fear slowly replaced by a sense of safety. When they finally emerged from the park, The sight of Sarah running toward them was a moment that etched itself in the hearts of everyone watching. She dropped to her knees, tears streaming down her face as she embraced her son. "Billy! Oh, thank God!" she sobbed, holding him as if she'd never let go. Trump stood quietly, watching the reunion with a rare softness in his expression. Sarah turned to him, her gratitude overwhelming. "Mr. Trump," she said, her voice trembling, "I don't know how to thank you. You saved my boy." Trump shook his head. "You don't need to thank me," he said simply. "Just take care of him." Before leaving, he handed her his business card. "If you ever need anything, call this number. Family comes first," he said. As he walked back to his car, a quiet satisfaction settled over him. The city lights sparkled against the dark sky, and for one family, the holiday season had transformed into a miracle. That night, Donald Trump sat in the back of his car, gazing out at the bustling streets of Manhattan. He knew the world would never hear about what had happened that evening. It wasn't for headlines or recognition. But as he replayed the scene in his mind, a rare but genuine smile crossed his face. For one little boy and his mother, the future now seemed brighter, and for Trump, that was enough.